Hi, I'm Jennifer Bardo, and I'm the host, and we're going to be talking about grit today. And grit stands for growth, resilience, intention, and tenacity, which leads me to introducing my first guest, Lucinda, who is a contributing author in Resilience, which was an international bestseller in 5 countries. So I'm really excited to have you here today, Lucinda. So tell me about who you are.
Well, I am a doctor of education in organizational leadership, and I just started my own company called Accelerate Change in 2021. And in my business, I work specifically with nonprofits and social enterprises to help them fulfill the purpose and the mission that they want to become within their organization and how that impacts our world. And so I started Accelerate Change in 2021 to be able to have more intention with working with nonprofits that are specifically working toward leadership, change management, and strategy.
That's awesome. So obviously stepping into entrepreneurship, and I want to learn more about your chapter in Resilience. It takes a lot of resilience to be an entrepreneur. What's that been like for you?
It's been a change. I think that working for an organization is a little bit easier for people to be out there with their issue because so many people are behind you with that issue that you take on the voice of the people that you're advocating for because often they are the voiceless, and that gives you courage to do that. I think it's different as an entrepreneur when it's all you and it's your voice and it's your experience that people are listening to and leaning into, and that can be a little daunting sometimes.
Well, and I can hear your passion that shines through in being an entrepreneur, but mainly to make social change and make an impact. So can you tell me a little bit about your chapter in Resilience?
Sure. My chapter is called On the Verge of Resilience. And VERGE is an acronym that I developed that stands for values, envision, reflection, gratitude, and execution. And what I do is I work with organizations to break down what those components mean. Because with resilience, I feel like that I describe it in the chapter as a muscle. It's not something that comes naturally to us. It's something that we practice. It's just like training for a marathon where you have to eat the right food and you have to sometimes have a coach, or you're having a team of people behind you that are motivating you and telling you that you can do this. And that's often the fact that we face when change comes to us, whether it's invited or if it's unexpected. Sometimes change can really knock the breath out of us. And the more that we have a practice in place, that we're always going through those different components, the more that I think we're able to rebound. And so I found this Verge model to be applicable both in organizations and also through personal change. So, for example, values is something that we all bring. We bring that to the organization and we bring that to our personal lives. And the more that we are in alignment and doing the kinds of things in our life that align with our values, the more that we're going to be living our best selves. The more that we're going to be coming to the table with offering the best of us. And when there's a lot of people coming to the table with shared values, that amplifies what that kind of behavior within even a family structure, an organizational structure, whatever the organization, it can apply. The other one is envision. And for me, that's the favorite part that I have when I work with organizations or even with individuals is to say, think and dream big. If you could do anything that you wanted and time or money or resources weren't a factor, what would that look like? And often teams get really excited about that because they have the chance to think about what could their organizations be like if they really dreamed big and how could they own a part of that? So that's another exciting exercise that we go through with Verge. The other one is reflection. And I really value reflection, both in my personal life, and I think that in an organizational setting, that reflection is often an overlooked skill that teams and organizations can lean into. And reflection can mean a lot of different things. It could mean reflecting back about how close are we to our goals, but it could also mean taking a step back from the work and thinking about how did we make mistakes? Let's talk about those mistakes and what did we learn from them? I think particularly in so many of our organizations, we are so consumed with do all the time that we sometimes don't take that step back to reflect. And going through personal change in my life too, sometimes I look back and I'm astounded with what I've been able to accomplish. And when you're in the moment, it doesn't seem like that you're swimming upstream. It seems like you're being carried by this tide and that you don't have much control of. And then when you take a step back, you begin to see that even small progress is such a gift. And that leads me into gratitude, talking about gifts, is that often during change, because the wind can be knocked out of us, we sometimes think that our lives are just really difficult, that sometimes it's difficult to do even the simplest of things. And, sometimes brushing our teeth is a victory, right? And so you have to be able to take a step back. For me, it's also being able to tie in nature as a way to rejuvenate myself, to just think about those really small things. And that can come alive in organizations too. When teammates can say, thank you, I really enjoy what you brought to this project, or I'm so glad that your expertise is on, is accessible through this project, or things like that. It really boosts the morale of each other, and it just gives a more of a permeating culture of gratitude. And then the last one is called execution. And we can't do anything unless we actually do things, right? So the more that you're able to walk through those steps, execute those steps, and be able to take stock of what you've been able to accomplish toward your goals, the more resilient that we're going to be in the face of change or when it feels like the bottom falls out. So going through those as an organization or again, even as an individual, reviewing your values, envisioning that big goal that you have in your life, taking a step back to reflect about what your successes are and being grateful for those lessons that you learned, and then just given the gift of being able to make that change.
That's a lot. And I love the layers. It's almost like an onion, but they all kind of blend together to really empower people while they're going through this time of transition. And I love that you highlighted this isn't just for professional, but it's also during changes of, personal as well, because we bring our whole selves to our culture, to our environments, and to the communities that we serve. So what are some of the lessons that you learned about yourself when you were authoring your chapter in resilience and truly helping people understand the Verge model?
So I loved writing this chapter because I was just coming off of writing a dissertation, which is very academic and in some ways rather rigid about how you write. And this chapter really allowed me to express myself in a different way and at the same time take the concepts that I've been working with throughout my dissertation project and also with organizations and in my consulting business, and to be able to marry those worlds together. I thought at the end, again, as I reflected on the experience, I thought, this is just another way that I'm building resilience, because I did feel uncomfortable writing it sometimes. I did have that sense of, wow, a lot of people are going to be reading this, and how I hope this is helpful to them. I think that also helps with resilience too, is to try to think about how what you're doing might impact positively on others, and to take our egos out of that, which can sometimes, those voices are so loud in our head all the time. But to be able to take a step back and to think about how might this serve someone else and help them through a difficult time. And I hope that's what this chapter can do, is that people can begin to think of change not as this scary thing, but that you can develop tools to be more resilient, that it's within our power to be able to control our thoughts and our feelings with practice.
Yeah, and I love that. And even with a PhD and all these accolades, it was still intimidating to author a chapter. So there was some personal growth that you even endured. And I think that's telling in regards to resilience as well, because there's always the next challenge. There's, if it's little, small, or big, as you hinted to. So that's amazing. So what are some of the, foundational, pivotal moments in your life that shaped you into who you are, with your passion and purpose of pouring into others and giving them the tools and support to do these transformative experiences?
Well, I think that my first transformational experience was my childhood and growing up on a 1,000-acre farm and taking care of, hundreds of animals and the land that we were responsible for. And I always joke with people to say, my first job was a farm hand, and I didn't get paid much, but I did get room and board.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a shaping experience, I think, of having that responsibility for a lot of animals and just the all of the things that need to be taken care of on a farm, and being in that tight-knit family that we were all so focused on that. I think too of then transitioning out from a very small community into living in Washington, D.C. and Boston, Massachusetts, New York City. I lived in Mexico for almost 2 years, where I taught English as a second language. And so those shifts, again, speak to what you were saying of putting ourselves in situations where we can grow. And that is a sense of great, it can be really uncomfortable, but pushing out of our comfort zone makes us, it makes our world bigger. And the people that I've met, the mentors that I've had, the experiences I've had have all led to me being an entrepreneur now. And being, working in situations that were so, again, when you work in a nonprofit, I'm a cross-sector professional, so I've worked in government, corporate, and nonprofit. And all of those experiences, I think, have given me this thread of seeing connections. And I think that that's a gift that I have, is seeing connections between seemingly disparate topics and being able to bring sense in the chaos.
Yep, that's beautiful. And I love how you not only have you learned from all of your experiences, but you've intertwined them into who you are today. So is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, I know that one thing that you like to learn from people is what their favorite quote is.
Yes.
And I have a favorite quote by Nelson Mandela, and it's very simple, but it's everything seems impossible until it's done. And again, that speaks to the fact that in order to be a transformational leader, you are going to have these big, hairy, audacious goals in front of you. People like Nelson Mandela, all of the social justice people that have come before me, standing on the shoulders of giants. And it just takes one small step to get started, and to just take that small step and celebrate what you've been able to learn from that, and just keep building those steps until all of a sudden you look back and there's been your road trip or your journey, and you start to see how resilient you've become.
I love that. And it is just that no matter if it's a big step one day and a small step the next day, it's gradual, it's change. And then, like you said, you love reflection. You reflect on your journey, and then you see how far you've come. So I hope you just inspired many to listen to their light bulb moments, as I call them, so they can then live out and follow their internal compass to make social change. So thank you so much for being here today. And I am thrilled to have you a contributing author in resilience and for you to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer.